Joining me now on the Knicks Film School podcast, he's a living legend. I don't know how else to say it. The founder, host, I don't know any other words you want to say, of Knicks Fan TV. Once upon a time, we were both lowly gentlemen on a late night Long Island Railroad train heading back from, where the fuck were we heading back from, CP? It was a draft party?
It was either the draft party or the first watch along we did. Then remember we did, I believe it was like Knicks Spurs or Knicks Dallas.
Oh, I remember the Spurs one. I remember the Knicks Spurs one.
Yeah. I think
they got their ass kicked.
Yeah, most likely.
That was like a little, I forget the name of the bar, but it was like a small bar upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you were there. There was some other people. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, CP, the Fanchise, the one and only. How you doing, man?
Doing well, man. Just got back from Miami, so a little R&R, a little networking. It was nice couple of days.
How was the scene? And we could talk about it. You were at a pretty cool conference. You were at a pretty cool event.
Yeah. Shout out to J Cal, aka Jason Calcanis. Big diehard Knicks fan. A huge fan of the independent content creator movement and a podcast content creator himself. Obviously during the daytime he dines as one of the biggest angel investors of our time, but certainly also the host of the All In podcast, which is like top 10 on any business chart on any podcast platform that you look at. Also the host of This Week in Startup. So it was a great convention. A lot of the brightest minds in Silicon Valley, from the venture capital world, technology, business, you name it. It was a great event. They had an interview with Elon Musk. My guy, Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer was down there. So It was a good time. Definitely a good time.
Perfect transition. So we're going to get to Knicks talk in a few minutes, which my trusty producer, Andrew Claudio, informs me we have some guest questions of some sort on this episode. I'll leave that to him in a bit. But no, you just said it, like you were just at, this event with all these like big shots, Silicon Valley, the whole thing. And I just want to touch on that. Like, we've talked about your journey, my journey, our respective journeys over the last few years. And it's funny. I think about it sometimes. Like I remember, I don't know if you ever felt this way. Like I started out doing this stuff. I'm like, man, if I could ever get a job in sports media, how cool would that be? Yeah. And I'm sitting here. It's like, Knicks Film School is the job. Like there's no, and obviously you are at that place as well, where Knicks Fan TV is a, it's an entity. It is something unto itself that has gotten, I think, to a place where you are now the shining star of every other independent content creator out there who is trying to do something different, trying to do something unique, trying to put their stamp. What was that? I mean, have you like reflected on that at all this year? I feel like you were here like last year, but like this year, like really solidified it.
Yeah, I just take it one day at a time, man. I think it's just a testament to passion and consistency. Because with that, if you have those two things, you don't really feel like you're working. You know what I mean? You feel like you're having a good time. You're talking to people who are like-minded, and to be a diehard Knicks fan, to be a loyal Knicks fan, there's a common thread there. There's a level of delusion in the back of your brain. So you mesh with all these people that you come across and you build those type of relationships. So it's a beautiful thing, and speaking of Jason, he's been a big time fan of the show. He barely misses a show. And so, we're down there, talking shop and trading tips and some of the things that I steal from his podcast, some of the things he steals from my podcast. So it's fun, man. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, the people that you meet along the journey, I think has been the most rewarding thing.
Do you feel, and I'll answer my own question first and say yes to what I'm about to ask you. Do you feel like your role has changed at all from when you started out?
Yeah, definitely. Because in the beginning, number one, I had no expectations in the beginning, right? I said, I'm going to try this thing. I feel like it can work. and I'm gonna stay consistent at it. You know, I wasn't.
I never know if Andrew wants us to read the things that he puts in the chat.
This you could read.
Go ahead and read it.
Andrew wrote, Kendra Randall should certainly think so. Anyway, shout out to Kendra.
It's never a dull moment. From year to year, it's never a dull moment. That's one thing I could say. You're never bored doing this thing. Right. You're never bored. But no, certainly things have changed, because in the beginning, when you know, you're kind of on the grind and you're trying to build something special, you have your hands on everything. Right. You're doing everything. You're producing the content and you're doing the podcast, and you're trying to figure out video editing, trying to figure out everything. And then as we've grown over time and we've been able to scale up. And so now I've been able to kind of delegate those tasks. But when you do that, now you're growing a brand, you're growing a business. Yeah. So, you know, you have to take those things into consideration and managing those expectations, managing people now, not just yourself, not just your audience, but now managing a team. So it's definitely different. And we've certainly evolved over the last 5 years for sure.
Yeah, I think there's that part of it. And I know, like, just for me, like, certainly once upon a time, as anybody who's been listening to the show for a while knows, I would just say whatever old thing came to my mind whenever I thought it, in particular on Twitter, I think probably even, you know, and now it's like, you kind of, not that I ever really hold back that much, but I definitely, I don't know, think about phrasing sometimes. Right. I you know, it's funny when I go back, and I've been doing it this week because I try not to do the same research twice. So like for newsletters and stuff, like if I've researched like past draft trades or whatever, like I'll go back and look at stuff I wrote a year ago or 2 years ago. And some of the shit that I used to write in those newsletters, like, wow, I was really not holding back. And now it's like, okay, you know, I don't know who's reading this, so I'll be a little bit more cautious.
You just never know. And like you said, it's not to say that you want to be completely reserved or
no.
Right. But yeah, you are a little bit more conscious of the message that you're putting out there. And like Andrew said, you know, Mrs. Randall wasn't too pleased with my message. You know, she felt like I was the ringleader, the puppet master of the whole anti-Julius tribe, but
holding the strings.
Yeah. She felt I was holding the strings, try to hold me accountable for it. But like I said, man, it's never a dull moment.
That's always my favorite part. And I guess it's the whole Randall family, is how every press conference, he gets up and talks about accountability. We have to be accountable. Let's try.
Right.
I wonder if they have a motto in their home about like a hashtag accountability. I could see that over their fireplace, a giant hashtag accountability.
Hashtag I'm not available for this media session today. You know,
along with the price tag of whatever the fine is that they had to pay for that. Okay. Right. Enough about the Randalls. And on that note, hi, Andrew Claudio. How you doing?
Hi, John Macri. CP, my homie. How are you, sir?
Listen, man, you're wearing that Mets hat loud and proud, as you should. Mets are doing well. Yankees are beasting as well. Hopefully they're on a collision course. We'll see what happens.
Can I just say how infuriating it is, how good the Yankees are? Because this was supposed to be like, they had a whole offseason where they collectively bargained a Steve Cohen tax. Yeah. They were afraid the Mets were going to get too good. And the Yankees, like Josh Donaldson is the only real deal they made. I guess they also brought back Rizzo. Yeah. And John, if they went 500 for the rest of the baseball season, as of this point right now, they'd win 90 games.
Oh, I know enough. I remember enough about baseball to know that that's quite good. Wait a minute. I saw something on the ticker of this. I think it's still a blowout, Miami and Boston. Max Scherzer is injured for a while.
Yeah. That's the other part. I don't think CP knew about that. I was hoping no one would bring that up, but yeah.
I did not.
So there's a thing, CP, that you obviously do understand this because you're a Knicks fan, but it's even more so as a Mets fan. We can't have nice things. We do not get nice things for a long time.
That's true, man.
We get like Evan Roberts. It's funny. They tweeted out earlier today that he has a deal with his wife that he's allowed to go to every home start where Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom start. which will not happen for the next 2 to 3 months at least.
I'm staying home.
Yes, enjoy the trip home to. I guess he's been New Jersey. He's in Long Island City or Brooklyn now. Evan Roberts. Shout out, Evan Roberts.
Shout out, Evan. So anything to be close to the bum ass Nets.
Yes, exactly. Now the fun part about all this, CP, though, is that it's funny you bring up the Mets and the Yankees, because I'm also realistic about my standing as a Mets fan in the New York market compared to the Yankees, right? And look, this is our first podcast, John, since we hit 9,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Congratulations.
A milestone not to be, looked down upon just yet. I'm thankful for all 9,000 plus of you for getting us there. But, our guest hit 50K during the season this year, which is a milestone that you should be very proud of, CP.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. But look, I have guys like you guys to thank, man, because we bring on great guests that the fans really value their opinion. And I told JB the story. Jeff Ballone, the creator of Knicks Film School. I told him the story of when he first started putting out film breakdowns on Twitter. I was like, who is this guy? Knicks Film School. He doesn't have a face. He doesn't speak. He doesn't do anything. So I DM'd him. I was like, who are you, man? Come on my show. And then JB came on the show. And then Macri came on the show. And then we used to do the quarterly round.
I remember that.
We used to do the quarterly round tables. So
good times.
Yeah, man. So, the relationship has been budding ever since, man. So I'm definitely thankful for the collaborations that we do.
A lot of people. And likewise, by the way, it's, rising tide lifts all ships.
Absolutely.
Which is why it seems like this has become a new tradition where we have you on for a celebration of Knicks content creation. I went and did the producer work, and I've got 11 questions lined up for you guys. Prominent names.
11 for the pick?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm going to pretend I did that on purpose. Yes. 11 questions.
Exceptional podcasting.
Yes. From 11 different people that have questions about the offseason. There are names that all of you will recognize that are watching or listening. Although their Twitter accounts will also be in the video when you're watching it. So go ahead and give all those people a follow. So without further ado, let's get to question number 1.
What's up, guys? First time, long time here. And my question pertains to the brains behind the operation of the New York Knicks, Mr. Leon Rose. Man, he's had such a tough time in his tenure with the Knicks. He did everything we asked of him last year, and it blew up in his face, yet we're all pointing the fingers at him. We asked him to be consistent. We asked him to give back to the players that gave their all. We asked him to build a culture that we reward our players, and it blew up in our face. So my question to you guys is, what's the move? What is consistency? I mean, should we do that this year? And if it is, what does consistency look like? Should we rebuild? But then is that really fair for Leon Rose and Coach Tibbs if we're rebuilding again? If we're just going to make a draft pick and just see what we got, just keep developing our young guys? Or are we building a contender? And if we are building a contender, what does that look like? I mean, what do we want? Shout
out John from the Jay Malika from the Knicks, Jets, etc. podcast with Alex Trataros.
I'll give a quick one first and then turn it over to CP here. I look at how we as a Knicks fan base oftentimes look at other teams around the league, like maybe a Portland or a Washington, as a team that they have a star, maybe Dame's a little better than Beal, whatever. And they're trying to go all in, trying to win now, the whole thing. And what do we say about those teams? Oh, they're idiots, right? Yep. Why would they do that? We don't have a player of that caliber here. So the notion that the Knicks, in terms of what's the move? I think that was the genesis of the question. What do we want, right? The notion that the Knicks should be trying to win this season. I'm not saying don't try to win or to tank intentionally, but you got a good young group of players here. I think any objective NBA observer would look at this and be like, you know what? Whether it results in 38 wins or 23 wins, why don't you go ahead and just see what you got? You got a nice pick, make the pick, trade, play that kid. Am I off base here, CP?
No, I don't think you're off base at all. I think, look, it's frustrating to see where they are, especially, again, based off of last year. People don't like to hear that, last year, but based off where they were and where they are now. Yeah, it's frustrating. As John said, bringing back those veterans from last year, obviously it didn't work. And, progression isn't always going to be linear in the NBA. So what Leon Rose and these guys need to do now is, evaluate this roster. Take a look at some of the guys that, contributed. Take a look at some of the disasters, the Kembas of the world, the Noel, who, maybe he's in a body cast from now till training camp. Derrick Rose. Yes, we love him, but can never stay healthy. We've got to evaluate that. How, where are we going to go in terms of all this young talent? Is there a consolidation play here? We do know that they are capped out. And so that the only way to bring upgrades into this team, for the most part, is going to be via trade. And so, yeah, they haven't hit their blockbuster, right? Which is why Leon Rose is here. He hasn't gotten his blockbuster player, but at the same time, he hasn't mortgaged the future. We're not in any crazy contracts. Yes, the Fournier one, if you want to argue, it's questionable. I like how Fournier finished the year. I like Fournier.
I like Fournier too.
I'd like to see him transition to the bench. We've drafted well, Obi, Quick, Grimes, you like McBride, some people like what Jakobitis can be. Sims, how about Jericho Sims? How you finish the second half?
58, baby.
So we found a lot of value in the draft, despite not being able to pick at the top. Now we have to continue to build a complementary roster. We've seen that offensively, we were not balanced. Defensively, we came along later in the season. So they've just got to keep tweaking until they either develop their own star or they have enough to land that disgruntled star. That's the name of the game.
And on that last point, I'm so happy you ended with that, to land the disgruntled star, because I think the whole notion to continue the good vibes of 2021 into this season was okay, if you could then take another step up, then that, maybe that star looks at you and be like, oh, I could be the missing piece that takes them to a championship. Clearly they're not there. So it's almost like, are you, but if you lean into these younger players a little bit more, are you really turning off a potential star who would look to come here more than if you do you think if you go out and continue to play these veterans every minute, a star is going to be more likely to look at the situation here and be like, oh yeah, that looks great. No, I mean, you got some interesting young players. Right. Show the league what you got, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The next 3 questions are RJ Barrett themed.
Oh, next,
boy. Let's go.
Next.
Hey guys, shout out to Max, shout out to Andrew, shout out to Jeremy. I got the RJ question. My RJ question would be, what are realistic expectations we should have for him on year 4? I know everybody wants him to be that guy, as do I, but what is realistic expectations? Because he has so many things I think he could work on in his game. And also, we get a lot of trade rumors and stuff. But if we were to ship out Randall, who would be the perfect player that can come in and play next to RJ and help him take that next step?
Shout out Tiff.
Shout out Tiff. Tiff's the best.
Yeah.
Knicks film school lifer. CP, you want to take this one first?
Yeah. So realistic expectations for RJ. I mean, it's going to be the same things that, he was looking to work on coming into this season, which is his pull-ups. His pull-up jumper needs work. I think he only shot about 33% on his pull-ups this season. That is going to be, to me, a pivotal aspect of his game in terms of whether he'll be, maybe a borderline all-star and an all-star. I think he needs that intermediate part of his game to really round things out, keep defenses honest, and not, telegraph just, a straight line drive to the basket. Yeah, he showed a little wiggle here and there, and he's been able to finish with both hands. But, if he can get some sort of go-to move in the intermediate, I think that'll really, really round out his game. There was a lot to like about RJ last year. And get about 12 games of 30 plus or more. The leadership qualities, really taking on that role of being the guy, trying to be the closer on this team, getting to the free throw line. I think he finished close to 7 attempts So just really being aggressive in this offense. But I think my expectations for him is to really, really improve on his pull-up jumpers and also his defense. Defense tailed off a little bit. He's very much susceptible to the backdoor cuts. Kind of has those lapses a little bit. He's got to tighten up there. And so those would be the two areas that, I would expect RJ to really improve on. And we'll see. Can he get up to, 20 points per game next season? I don't think that's I don't think that's impossible.
You were kind, CP. He was at 25% on pull-ups. I know. I mean, the two nice round numbers: 25% or 33%.
Yeah.
I love that. This is why people love you, the optimist. How am I the downer now? It's a shame. 25%, and more importantly, the volume's just not there. He only took 91 pull-ups in 70 games. So. For me, you stole my answer, of course, because it's going to be the pull-ups. And then the second half, though, for me is the playmaking. So assists per 36 minutes. And I know because I've made the argument, this ticked up after he got the ball, started getting the ball more after December 31st, but per 36 minutes, it's been flat for 3 years. 3.0 as a rookie, 3.1 second year, 3.1 last year. He needs to be a 4.5, 5 assists a game guy. And I think those two things, the pull-up shooting and the assists, go hand in hand, because if teams have to start respecting the jumper and he can then and guard him differently, that'll open up more for him once he could put the ball on the floor, which obviously we know he could do, and get inside the arc and make plays for other people. Those are the two skills. If he becomes a 5 assist a game guy and he starts hitting pull-ups, even 34, 35% on like half decent volume, he's an all-star. There's no question about it. He's an all-star. That's it. Yeah. Can he get there? And then Randall, what's the realistic return?
Yeah.
Eric Bledsoe, because that means we're getting the 7th pick in the draft. That's my answer.
Do you, a lot of fans have been throwing that trade out there, especially this week. Is that realistic though? When Portland made the McCullough trade, you were hearing Jeremy Grant was really the talk.
Well, they could do both, because they could trade for Grant into the traded. They have a traded player exception, which I'm sure you know. And I don't know if they want Jeremy Grant and Julius Randle, but and then they could do Bledsoe and it would be Bledsoe and Winslow for the salaries to work out for Randle. I have no idea. Like, my biggest question, and I'm curious what you think, like, how does a team like Portland look at Julius Randle? They look at him as like, man, if he's our second or third best player, we could really be going places. Or are they looking at him like, yeah, you're gonna have to pay a fee for us to take on the next 4 years of that? Like, I genuinely really don't know the answer.
I don't know. I don't know how you look at the season that he had and say, hey, this is a guy we want to pay with Dame. And looking at what's going on in the West, I don't know, man. I think you're going to have to pay to play. All the Knicks fans right now, the anti-Randall people, they're concocting all these trades just to ship him up out of here so he can clear that salary and get him off the books.
You're their ringleader, CP.
That's right. I just don't see Leon going in that direction just yet. I don't think he goes there just yet, where he's willing to sell low, pair an asset with this guy just to ship him up out of here and start over again. I don't think he's there just yet. I'm not saying things can't change over the course of the season, maybe after the next season, but I just don't think he's there just yet. What do you think?
Randall, the 23 Dallas pick for Bledsoe, Winslow, and 7. Pair 7 and 11, trade up.
People want 4. People want to go to Sacramento. Send it to Sacramento
or to Detroit. Get Ivy, get Shaedon Sharpe, whichever. I don't know, but I haven't done the homework on Shaedon Sharpe because there's no homework to do because there's no freaking tape on him. But if there's an opportunity, you're not getting one of the top 3. If there's an opportunity to get into the 4 or 5, one of those spots, and if you think that player, one of those players, is a difference maker, a potentially long term,
that's what we're looking for.
That's what you need. And it's hard to get those guys. So if you get one now, get one.
Yeah. And real quick on this point, one, I said if RJ can get to 20 points per game next year, he got to 20 this year, right?
By this
14,
get him his
17 to 20. So he did get there, right? So you see that upward trajectory. I think if he continues to be aggressive in this offense and we can continue to run the offense through him, I think he'll continue to increase that as well. She said, who would be the ideal player for him to play with? I like Obi. You know, or how a player like Obi finished the season, a guy who can space the floor with him, a guy who can get out and transition with him. I think that to me would be an ideal player to play with, a more floor spacing, athletic four that can get out there and run with RJ as well.
I like that answer. Yeah, sure. I like that. And I'm not saying anything groundbreaking here. I'd love to see him and Cam get some time together.
Yeah.
Next year.
I was going to say that one next. Yep.
See what they could do. See what that chemistry is.
You guys are preaching to the choir. So your ideal players to put next to RJ Barrett are Cam Reddish, Immanuel Quickley, Obi Toppin, maybe Deuce McBride, Rokas Jacobaitis, Jericho Sims.
But like part of the
Quentin Grimes, whoever they drafted 11.
If we're keeping it 100, part of the issue with RJ right now is he's a bit of a tricky fit because he's a guy. So either he's going to be an off-ball shooting threat, which is what he was alongside Julius Randle during 2020-21 season, or he's a guy that of what we saw over the second half of this year, which is like not that he needed the ball, but he was operating with the ball. And like, how do you play off of that? Like, is there an ideal pick and roll partner for him? Like, I thought he did pretty well with Mitch as a pick and roll partner. He threw a lot of lobs to that dude. So, I don't know.
So speaking of expectations, now you're going to get to tell us exactly how high you think RJ's expectations are. Next up.
Hey guys, I'm Yash. I'm John's best ever mock trial student back when he was a lawyer in another life. And my question is, who's the Knick most likely to be playing in the All-Star game next year? And why is it RJ Barrett?
First of all, Yash, you're not my best mock trial student.
Oh. So I want to expand on his question, and rather than because I like either Julius or RJ are the most likely to make the All-Star team next year, right? So I'm just going to ask you a different version of it. And it's not just who's the most likely Knick. If a Knick were to make the All-Star team next year, so like they could add somebody or trade for somebody, who would it be next year?
I'd put my money on RJ.
RJ. Okay. Over if they trade for a star. That's what I'm saying. An iteration of any Knick on the roster next year.
Let me put it this way. You would have to give me, oh my God, probably 10. You would probably have to give me like somewhere between 5-1 and 10-1 odds for like, in terms of like, am I taking RJ is the Knick on the All-Star team next year, or player X, with the caveat that I get my money back if no Knick makes the All-Star team. I don't even know how I would do this. That math in my head. Okay. Yeah. For me to do the math in my head where it's like, I have to factor in that nobody makes it, then that's more complicated. But like, yeah, unless I'm missing something here.
CP.
Oh man, the fans are not going to like this, but I'm going Julius with a season with an all-star bag. He's taken all the heat that he took from the fans, all the heat from Knicks Fan TV, Knicks Film School, everything. He's going back to Dallas with Tyler Relf and Miles Turner. He's about to get back on his game, and he's going to get back to it. I still think he's going to be on this team. I think he's going to get a heavy dose in the offense, as he usually does. And I think between the two players, he's the guy who can score on all three levels. That I would have more confidence in scoring on all three levels. Rebounding, playmaking as well.
Right.
I think when they're at the top of their games, I still think he's a better player.
Interesting.
Hold on one sec. I just want to. Okay, so Andrew, you're going to want to clip that, and you're going to want to at Kendra Randall underscore.
Yes.
There's an underscore.
Absolutely.
Don't forget the underscore.
Okay. Wow. We're making amends here on this crossover.
Just a little bit.
There you go. All right. Well, the next question.
What's up, guys? So, I heard you wanted questions, and I was thinking about some historical questions, right? And I was thinking about it. And I'm like, how many times have we done rankings of Knicks or whatever? I'm like, that's not that original. I can't ask you guys for the millionth time to be like, oh, who's better, Clyde or Ewing? No, that doesn't play. I will say though, I was thinking, the more I was reflecting, I was like, remember when Porzingis was kind of on the come up? Like, everybody was so quick to anoint him as the potential next great Knick, the best Knick draft pick since Patrick Ewing, yada, yada, yada. Like, he's going to go down as one of the all-timers for the Knicks. And then now we have RJ Barrett. And I feel like maybe that doesn't come up as often. And I wonder if maybe that's because we're older now, we're smarter, we're less willing to put ourselves out there and get hurt by another potential franchise savior again. I don't know what the reasoning is, but let me just ask you guys, what do you think the ceiling is for RJ Barrett in all-time Knicks discourse? So, like, what number do you think he would put himself in the conversation for? And what do you think the floor is for RJ Barrett's potential all-time ranking as far as Knicks discourse goes?
Oof. Wow. That's a great question.
Yeah. Shout out Alex Wolf of Locked On Knicks, by the way.
Yeah, that's my guy, man. Shout out to Alex, man. Another one of my favorite people, man. Oh, man.
I'll give a because I did the top 75 for my newsletter, so I have this pretty fresh in my head. Mm-hmm. I'll do the ceiling, and then I'll throw it to you, and then I have to think about the floor for a little bit. I'll go fifth greatest Knick of all time, because to me, there's a very clear top three, obviously in Ewing, Clyde, and Reed, in whatever order you want to go in. Mm-hmm. And for me, the more I dug into it, DeBusschere at number 4 was pretty solid. Like, that dude is, Dave DeBusschere was really good. And I had I think Melo as my number 5 ahead of Bill Bradley. Like, if you told me that RJ Barrett was going to have a better career than Carmelo Anthony as a Knick, I don't think that's insane. Am I saying he's going to make 6 All-Star teams or whatever amount of All-Star teams? Melo, I think it was 6, right? Andrew, I'm sure knows this.
Yeah. As a Knick, yes, he made 10 total.
Yes, I know he made 10 total. I don't think RJ Barrett's going to make 6 All-Star teams as a Knick, but if you told me like the full breadth of his career, because like number 6 on my list was Bill Bradley. Bill Bradley made 1 All-Star team as a Knick, but he also won obviously 2 championships. So I think 5 is the ceiling. I'll turn it over to you, CP, before I think of the floor. This is a good question.
Yeah. And so we're not just talking about drafted, right? Because you said Melo, right? We're just talking about Knicks.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about all Knicks, right? Unless I screwed up the answer already.
No, you're right. Can RJ? The question I think more translates to, like, can RJ become a top 5 Knick ever? Does he have that in him? Do you see him doing that?
Look, Ewing, I'm just writing it down. Clyde, Reed, Melo.
Yeah.
That's 4.
I'll give you. You want me to give you the rest? I'll just give you because I'm staring at it. I had Brad. This is my list, obviously. So I don't know what your list is. I had Bradley at 6, Earl Monroe at 7, Bernard King at 8.
Right, Bernard.
And then I went a little rogue. I had Richie Guerin at 9. Kids, if you don't know who Richie Guerin is, go Google him and look up his basketball reference page. He's pretty good. And I had Charles Oakley at 10.
Without rings, I don't see him cracking 8, 7. Ewing, Clyde, Reed, Melo, Monroe, Bernard, Bill Bradley. Allen Houston had a great Knick career, man.
Yeah.
H2O, man.
To me, there is again, my estimation, there's like a very clear top 16 to 21. For like all, you could even maybe extend it to like 23, 24, like Kurt Thomas. Like I have Kurt Thomas as a board, like just barely a top 25 Knick ever. Like, are we sitting here today? Are we sure that RJ Barrett is going to have a better Knick career than Kurt Thomas? Like, I don't know. Kurt Thomas was fucking awesome for a long time.
Kurt was my guy, man.
Kurt was great, you know?
Sure.
But that's why I think the floor question is actually more interesting because, like, I could again, I am an optimist at heart. I could see a world where RJ Barrett stays here for 15 years.
Yeah,
and like, I don't even care how many All-Star teams he makes. If he's on winning teams over the course of that time, like that'll get him really high on this list. The floor is interesting because, like, I mean, shit, if RJ Barrett's playing in Utah next year, then the floor is pretty low. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. But I don't know. The floor, I don't know. Is it 60th?
I mean, for ceiling, I'm probably going like 7th. Honestly, I'm putting Ewing, Reed, Melo. I'm putting the Pearl, Bernard, Bill Bradley. All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah,
I put him at 8.
Okay. Listen, I think that's a fair ceiling. I don't know if he got traded a year from now, and let's go crazy. Let's say next season he goes out and he has like another pretty good year, even a little bit better than this year. Misses the All-Star team by a little bit. Is he a top 50 Knick ever?
Top 15?
50. If he goes out next season, he averages 23, 6, and 4.
Yes, 50. Yes.
That puts him in the top 50. Okay.
Yeah. You would have to, right?
I actually agree with that. I think one more year of that caliber.
Yeah.
And let's say they're about a 500 team. Yeah, I think that would put him inside the top 50.
50. I think is doable.
So let's say that I'll give that as my floor. 50.
Yeah. 50, I think 50 is doable. I could agree with that.
Can I throw some respect on Bernard King's name? Not that neither of you threw disrespect on his name, but CP John and our listeners know this. I've been winning time inspired me to do a bit of a YouTube deep dive on old school NBA games because I wanted to see like how realistic the show was to like the 1980s Lakers. And I just I can't get enough of like the 70s Celtics, the Celtics Lakers matchup, seeing what people mean when Jerry West and Elgin Baylor and the type of players they played on the same court as, to compare them to the aliens that exist today. So Game 7, Knicks Celtics in 1984. That was the 84 Celtics that eventually won the title against the Lakers. Bernard King took that Celtics team. I'm going to say Bernard King, by the way, took that Celtics team to 7 games where he had multiple 40-point games, including 44 in Game 6 to force Game 7. And the first round series he played was against the Pistons, the Isaiah Pistons that would spend the rest of the decade in the conference finals or in the conference semis against the Celtics, in which his 5-game point totals were 36, 46, 46, 41, and 44.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Not beating that, man.
Like, is RJ Barrett doing that?
No. King, I mean, we don't listen, we could have a whole podcast on it. King was among the 5 or so most difficult players for me personally to rank because how do you assess a year and a half stretch? Because that's all it was, really. I mean, if you want to go the year before he had the first big year, fine. So fine, 2.5 year stretch of, I mean, I think there's an argument that he had the greatest peak of any Knick in history. I know obviously Reed won the MVP, but that was a weird year. That was also one of the closest MVP votes in history. I understand also that Larry Bird was a runaway winner ahead of King when King finished second. But like King that year, oh my good Lord. It's just tough because he just didn't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
My point was more like anybody that thinks it's like, can RJ pass Melo? Like, you got to pass Bernard King first was more where I was going with this. I saw the breadcrumbs, John, of like how hard I stand for Melo now because I was there for it. Yeah. If I was like 22 when Bernard King was carrying the Knicks to the second round and taking the Celtics to 7, I would be unbearable. There would be whatever. If he had the stay Bernard, the way I would, it's like king me would be my hashtag rather than stay mellow.
It's how do you define greatness?
Yes.
Yes.
That's all it is.
True story.
All right. So we are done with the RJ conversation. Next up.
What up, CP? What up, Gramps? How y'all doing? I gotta get your guys' thoughts on the latest edition of Knick fans undervaluing their own players. You guys know I spent 3 years screaming from the rooftops that we were doing it with Mr. RJ Barrett, and now I think it's happening again. Man, there's a kid on the Knicks who had a down shooting year, who can pass, shoot, dribble, and defend, who makes the team better on both ends of the court, no matter what lineup he's in. And there are still Knick fans who use him as a throw-in, who talk about him as someone with potential to come off the bench as a sixth man. I don't get why we are afraid of having a great 6'3", with a 6'9" wingspan guard in Immanuel Quickley, who we know has that killer mentality and who we know fits great with RJ and Obi, two of our big cornerstones. What's the deal with that, and how do you guys think what the Knicks do this summer reflects their faith in IQ?
CP, I've talked to Chris about this a lot. I'll let you start us off here.
No, shout out to Chris first and foremost, and congratulations on draft class on the Knicks Film School podcast. Shout out to Chris. And he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. You know, from the time the whole Kemba experiment turned into a wash, I've been calling for Quickley to get more starting time at the point. I loved his whole progression in this second year. You know, we watched him struggle early, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, but was also overthinking out there in terms of playing the point and running the offense. Ultimately, we saw him get more comfortable into the offense. Game seemed to have slowed down. He started playing his game more. And as Chris said, you saw a kid who took the next steps as a playmaker. His defense came about as well, made the team better on both ends of the floor. Look at the stats, look at the eye test, whatever test you want to go by. Quickly made the team better. And so, yeah, it was definitely frustrating to see a lot of Knicks fans like, oh, he's not a point guard. He's not this. He's not that. You know, he's trash. He's just that. I saw a completely different guy out there. I saw a guy who I want to see continuing with this team. Yeah, I would like to see him if you know, the point guard options are dwindling, give him a shot. I don't know how the organization feels about it, but at the very least, you saw a guy who was coming off the bench as your sixth man, as your lightning rod, and also finished games in the fourth quarter. So I think Quickley has established a role on this team going forward. I think he kind of took that D Rose role to a certain extent. Yeah, they're different players, but I felt like he took that role in terms of running the second unit with Obi and Grimes and McBride and Reddish when he was available, Sims as well. And I want to see him continue with this team. You know, I think Chris is definitely on the money. I think we did undervalue Quickley's contributions this year.
I think there's 4 teams left in the league in the playoffs right now. And I think you would say that the 4th best players on all of those teams, help me out with this, probably Jordan Poole for Golden State, right? Mm-hmm. Dorian Finney-Smith or Spencer Dinwiddie, one of those guys probably on Dallas. We'll go Marcus Smart or Al Horford on like this version of Al Horford on Boston. Yeah. And Miami, I guess probably Tyler Hero, Kyle Lowry, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's Immanuel Quickley's ceiling. I think he could be the 4th, 3rd, like maybe probably 4th best player on a team that is legitimately competing for a championship. And I think the most important part of that statement for me is that he can play a prominent role on a team that is competing for a championship because he does all the things that you need winning players on winning teams to do. And that is the part that I think some people are missing because you could have, and it's like the complete 180 of the Randall. Like there's a reason we're sitting here and be like, does Portland even want Julius Randle?
Yeah.
It's because like, can you look at him and what he does do and more importantly, what he doesn't do and be like, yeah, we'll figure out how to have that guy play a prominent role on our team. We could still win at a high level. With Immanuel Quickley, you don't have to ask those questions. Defensively, I know he's 6'3", he's not that big. Might he get, I hope we ever get to this place, but like, might he get hunted in a high level playoff series? Yeah, maybe a little bit. I think he could hold his own. He could pass, he could shoot, he could finish. Like he's creative. He has the handle that's coming along. Like all the things that you want, they're all there. I just looked it up. His last 23 games this year, per 36 minutes, 21 points, 7 rebounds.
Yeah.
6 point, a little bit more than 6 assists, under 2 turnovers, and got to the line over 6 times per 36 minutes. And of course, nearly 3 3-point makes per 36 on over 38% shooting. Oh, and by the way, the Knicks outscored their opponents by 6 points per 100 possessions in the 632 minutes over those 23 games. The guy was a stud over the last, whatever it was, 2 months of the season. He's really good. In terms of like what the Knicks' belief in him is, I still believe they think he is there managed nobly. I don't think there is a chance we see. I don't think we see him as a starting point guard next year.
I'm with you 100%. I mean, we went all the way to game 82 with Alec Burks as our starting point guard. So I think if they really wanted Quick in there, we would have seen it already. But that's just me.
I think it's role more than belief in his ability. I think it's just they think it's a certain role for him. Anyway.
And like I said, even though I wanted to see him start, I understood the role that he had, especially when D Rose went down. You needed him to run that second unit. And, I think it's expectations too. Like I'm not expecting him to be the next Dame. I'm not even expecting him to be Maxey. I think Maxey's a better player, but the fourth,
different player. Yeah. Different.
But the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh guy on a good team is still very important. Look at a Peyton Pritchard, look at a Gabe Vincent, look at your Brunsons, your Pools. I think even though Poole, I think is on the verge of something different. I still might be, as you said, Quickley can still serve a vital role for a winning team. And I think he's working on his way. I think he's on his way to that.
I hope you guys are ready for the slander you've given to Immanuel Quickley to eventually culminate in the victory lap when he goes to another team and
he wins the finals MVP.
Exactly. Because, we're in this era now, CP, where if a guy comes in and scores 0 points in 12 minutes,
oh my God,
he's contributing to a contender, and therefore the Knicks don't know how to use their own talent.
Oh,
not to name names. And
oh man,
yeah, just to plead the fifth if you don't mind.
Where's my bottle of wine?
That never dies.
Yeah, man. Seriously,
that never dies. Man. You take a blowtorch to that thing, it's still cooking.
Yep, Luka had nothing to do with it. That's the point. They made one roster move for 12 minutes and said, "Oh wow, we beat the 64 win Suns."
It's all on Tibbs, man.
Yes, absolutely. Next up,
Jonathan Macri. Long time no talk. When Claudio reached out to see if I wanted to submit a question to your video mailbag, I said hell no. But then when he comped my KFS subscription for the rest of time, I figured I owed you this much. An exercise for yourself and Mr. CP. Why don't you give me one reason that the Knicks are going to trade for a star this summer? And CP, vice versa. Appreciate your time, gentlemen. Keep up the great work.
Shout out to Cologne Loring on Twitter. Colin over at the Strickland.
He is working a look, but if anybody is only listening to this, you should go over to the YouTube channel. What minute are we at of this podcast? I don't know. Scroll until you see the guy that looks like if like they remade like Pirates of the Caribbean for 2022 would be he's Captain Jack Sparrow. Okay. Why the Knicks are going to trade for a star? Because Leon Rose is his third year, and Leon Rose has been given a mandate of sorts to do so. And also Donovan Mitchell has told his management that I want to be traded to the Knicks. And that's basically, that's the reason. A star says I want to go to New York. That's the reason.
The reason why they won't trade for a star, even though I wish they would trade for a star. I just don't think that trade is there. Like I said earlier, I think Utah, based on what we've read, and anything can change, especially you're dealing with Danny Ainge, but I think Utah is motivated to keep him. I would be as well. He has no leverage in terms of, trying to force his way to New York. And so therefore, I think that's one domino off the table. I don't think the Zion move is there. I don't think a Bradley Beal move is there.
No.
So what do we have left? What we have left is stay the course, draft, and continue to develop and see what you have. Even if a Danny Ainge calls and says he's available, give me everything you got or everything worthwhile, which means it's not going to be Julius. They're going to want RJ. They're probably going to want Obi, a number of picks, a Quickley, everything that you have valuable. What are you left with once you bring that guy here? Right. I think most of those big star trades, you're bringing that guy with something that's already here to take you to the next level, but not just to do a Melo trade where you're coming here and starting all over again. And so I just don't see it from, the options being out there and from a trade package that allows us to make that trade without emptying the entire cupboard.
Well said.
Extremely well said, other than the fact that the Melo trade happened because they thought they had Amari.
That's right. That's right.
Just important clarification.
I would on stat, man, because you basically lasted 30 games.
I'm right there with you. It's completely changed the context of the Melo trade. I just would like the context of the Melo trade to be mentioned.
Go ahead. Another very hard Knick to rank all time in terms of Amari Stoudemire.
Yes.
Those are very hard games, man.
Next up.
JD here at JD Sports Talk. Shout out to Knicks Film School. My question to you guys is, how should Tom Thibodeau be evaluated for the upcoming season? Some people think it should be within the first 20 games if we don't have a winning record. Others think it depends on the seeding, certain expectations of what seed we should get. And others think, well, just depends on what rotations, how the rotations will look like. That should be the criteria. What do you think should be how he, should get evaluated for the upcoming season in what many believe is a make or break year for the New York Knicks head coach?
Shout out to JD.
Shout out JD.
JD Sports Talk, common co-host of Knicks Fan TV.
Absolutely.
And shout out to us. We made it an hour in before we got a tips question, guys.
So I'll start by giving the wrong answer, which is that at the stage the Knicks are at, and this is why I, through much fault of my own and much peril, continued to defend this sociopath last season. I think you evaluate him on two things. Does the team play hard for him? Actually, three things. Does the team play hard for him? Does the team go out there and look like they know what the hell they're doing? They have a plan. Is there a game plan that if they execute it, seems like it works? And then is there development of the young players? Are the young players getting better? And I think if you get all three of those things next season, young players getting better, team goes out, looks like they know what the hell they're doing, looks like they know what they need to do, and they're trying hard. And again, I my favorite stat, number one defensive rating after the All-Star break, when things had bottomed out and he still had them going out there and defending their asses off. Like, that's not easy to do. To me, if the man's doing more of his job than less of it. But I know that's not the right answer. So I'll turn to CP for the correct answer.
I think, the tips question is hard to answer before you see what the front office does to fix the issues with this roster. It's not a balanced offense. No. It's not a versatile offense or defense, even though, yes, I believe they still finished 11th in defensive rating. Yes. They did finish strong. I'd like to see more balance there. Again, more balance in the offense. We still have not found a piece that can either help Julius Randle save himself or be able to play off of him. We still have not had that guy in Julius Randle's 3 years. So I have to see what the front office does first to try to put a more complementary offense, a more complementary team for Tom Thibodeau. But to me, he gets evaluated, as Macri said, how they are responding. You know, are they letting go of the rope in these games? Are they giving lackluster effort? Are the boo birds out early for this team? Yes, wins and losses will factor into that. How patient is the guy at the top? How patient is James Dolan if these things are to occur? How much faith does he have in Leon Rose in terms of his coaching pick? I think all those will come into consideration. So, but like I said, I think we've got to look at Leon in the front office first. Scott Perry, what pieces do they bring in to help, fix some of the holes that were there last year? And then I think we can look at Tibbs' job.
One last thing, and this is where, as much as I might want to give Tibbs an A or an A- or a B+ or whatever for any of the things I mentioned, he gets an F when it comes to all things Julius Randle concerned. So let me add that as a fourth thing. And if he does not figure out whether it's getting better performance out of him or playing him a lot less, if he doesn't figure that out, then that's another prerequisite for me. So he didn't do it last season.
Accountability for Randle, no question. Yeah. No question.
Given current roster construction, do either of you believe there will be a coaching change during the season next year?
I think if they shit the bed really bad, I think it could.
And then enter Johnny Bryant.
Yeah.
If they trade for Mitchell, Bryant's going to be the coach at some point during the year. That's his
guy. Yeah, that's his guy.
If they don't trade for Mitchell, yeah, I think it would take. Depending on how they're playing, because I don't want to make it like I was going to say it would take like 6 and 14 if they did the trade that I said before and they traded Randle for a pick and they use that pick on Shaedon Sharpe and Shaedon Sharpe is their starting small forward on opening night.
Yeah,
and 6 and 14 might actually look pretty good. It's hard to answer that question, but is there a chance that they fire? Of course there's a chance.
It's the how of it all.
Yeah.
Because they could be playing hard for him, but if they is Derrick Rose and Alec Burks and Quickley still playing 20 minutes and it'll be a reaction to so these veterans are getting us to 6 and 14. If they're playing the kids and it's that last 10 game stretch where you saw him going with the hot hand and quickly playing the whole fourth quarter against Miami, and you're seeing signs of progress, but a clear lack of talent, I could see them being you know what, best coach for the job right now to instill the principles these kids will need to be successful is Tibbs.
Willie Green was what, 1-10? 1-12?
Yeah, the 1-11 or something like that, and then 3-13. Yeah.
So sometimes, you do the thing that this organization has never done, which is weather the storm. But
how about from the sake of content creation, are you guys ready for Tibbs' head being called for every night again next year?
I've been enjoying the off season, man.
Sorry.
This is why I dipped off to Miami. It was a long, hectic season. Man. I'm getting people in my ear. Tibbs has got to go. Mrs. Randall's in my ear. So it's hectic, man.
But this is why I asked CP about how he's seen his role and our role, I guess, change over the year. If you think I'm doing that shit again next year,
add sports psychologists, sports fan psychologists to the resume. Don't get paid nearly enough.
I will read all the comments and I will nod politely and I will move on to the next comment.
Speaking of the next comment, next up.
Hey, what's going on, guys? All right, 3-part question. How many players on rookie contracts will be on the roster next year? How many players on veteran contracts will be on the roster next year? And then given that, how many wins does this roster have in it?
Shout out
JB.
Founder of Knicks
GOAT, man.
Jeffrey Balone.
JB.
Short and sweet because he's got 18 other things to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shout out to JB, man.
I got to pull up their roster.
Yeah, I'm writing it down. I'm going old school, Emmanuel.
So for those who might not have heard, the question is, it's a 3-part question. How many rookie contracts will be on the team next year? How many veteran contracts will be on the team next year? And then, given the roster construction you guys have now projected, what kind of win and loss record are we looking at for a team like that?
Hold on, I'm counting.
Count out loud. Who are you counting? Go through the roster if you want to.
I will. I'll give my answer. I will go. So we're doing a 15-man roster. It's 13 plus two two-ways, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll go.
So we're our numbers have to add up to 13, right?
Sure.
Okay, great. I will go. I'm going to be a little hopeful here. I'm going to be a little hopeful. I'm going to go 9. No, I Mitch changes it. So, okay. I'm going to go 8 rookie, 5 vet. 8 rookie, 5 vet, 35 wins.
8 rookie, 5 vet. Is RJ one of the 8 rookie? They don't do an extension yet?
Well, he's still on a rookie contract regardless.
But I'm saying he's not on his next contract is the question.
This is a different question. I thought we were done with the RJ questions. Is RJ going to get extended this summer? Yes.
Yes. Okay. CP?
I'm going 7. I think Mitch could be gone. I think Cam could get traded.
I also think Cam could get traded.
And so I'm adding in the lottery pick. All right, so I got RJ, IQ, OB, Sims, McBride, Grimes in the lottery pick. Am I missing another young guy?
Did you say Deuce?
7. That's 7.
Yeah,
you didn't say Deuce.
Right. I did.
Oh, he said McBride. He said McBride.
Oh, you said McBride.
Yeah, so that's set plus the lottery pick. So I'll say 7.
Okay.
So 7 rookie contracts.
Yeah.
And then your veterans. Well, I guess that's the rest of the roster.
He doesn't have to say who they are. Just 7 rookies, 6 vets.
It'll be 6. It won't be the same guys, but it'll be 6.
And then wins.
Yeah, I'll say 38 wins.
So they're going to win more games next year with that roster.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, say 30.
I love the optimism.
Good job by Tibbs.
Yeah.
Coach of the year repeat.
Coach of the year.
Giddy up, baby.
There you go. All right, next up.
Yo, what's up, John and CP? First time, long time, as they say. How often does that Knicks PTSD, if at all, seep into your analysis of the team? You know, is it in a subtle way always kind of making you a little bit more hesitant when you're looking forward, trying to be positive because you're worried that the rug is going to be pulled out from underneath you and, you know, the same old Knicks, so to speak?
Shout out Rich McLeod, contributor of Knicks Film School, gigantic Mets fans. Follow his newsletter, Just Mets, if you want more Mets content.
The PTSD.
I mean, I have it. I'm just trying to think of how to answer the question. Does it influence? It influences my coverage because I know we all have it. Like anybody, like the people that I don't know about you, the people that I feel like I talk to and I write to, we all have the same disease. We all have the same shared history. So like, I'm definitely cognizant of it, but I think I try to make an effort to objectively still try to be objective. It does seep in the back of my head whenever things are going good or whenever I feel like I want to say something like this young guy is a star, or like we're definitely going to win this many. That's when in the back of my head, I'm like, no, we're not. It's the fucking Knicks.
It's the Knicks. It gets us every time, man. From the lottery luck to the free agents that never come here, trades that never happen. But we're still here. We still do our preview shows. We still do, our mocks. Yeah. Look, we're still here, but we're all guilty of it, man. I just, what I say on my show the other day, I said, I'm done with the hives. I was Frank Hive. I was Torrey Murray Hive. I was this guy's Hive.
Good Hive.
Yeah.
Torrey Murray Hive.
Oh yeah. I was on every Hive. I'm done. Now they're on a show me type of deal. You know what I'm saying? I'm neutral on all these young players until they actually show me that they're going to be more than just, a role player. Can somebody break out and be a star? We'll see. Outside of RJ, I don't really see it. But I'm done with the Hives, man.
CP, why do you hate Deuce McBride?
Oh, God. You mean the next starting point guard of the New York Knicks? Are you crazy?
I don't know, man. I see Chris Paul. I see Chris Paul, small point guard.
This wasn't asked, but
you get all the G League accolades. Did you get all the G League games? 30 points.
We didn't ask this, but how high in the all-time Knicks ranking could Deuce McBride get?
There's got to be somebody in the comments like,
move on to the next.
You don't know ball. Tim stinks. He's buried him.
Listen, like we joke around, but I think just as a theme this season, I think you guys would agree with this. Like last season or 2 years ago, the 2021 season was like some of the best vibes we've ever had. Like the Hives were created because like a culture seemed to be being built. And what happened this year, which is so unfortunate, it felt like a lot of that went away and got undone. And it's why we are kind of in this limbo of what are they going to do? What's next?
But the thing that's frustrating about I hope this comes back to bite me in the ass on Deuce. I hope he's an awesome player, but I went through the exercise recently of like going through the last like 15 years of Knicks history and all the guys that there was at least a contingent of Knicks fans who were like, this is it. This is the answer. Yes. This guy right here. And none of those guys are on NBA rosters. Or let me rephrase that. In NBA rotations. Frank, since then, has made his way into the Dallas rotation. He has made a contribution on a conference finalist. God bless him. Good job by him. Nice job. Where I will say I feel differently about not only RJ, but Quickley for sure. And I'm pretty sure I'm there with Obi. And I'm getting pretty close with Grimes too. That dude's an NBA player, a rotation player. I think we have something much more legitimate than any time that I have been watching this team in terms of young core. But like, why do we have to do it with everybody? Why does Deuce, like, again, I hope Deuce is great, but can we see it first? That's all. Just
no question. You're right. I think this is the first time probably ever that we've had, promising young players that could, fill a role at the very least and maybe be an all-star in RJ's case.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have 2 questions left and I pulled some strings and was able to get some surprises for you guys. So next up,
CP, Jonathan, first time, long time here. And I want to know if you're running the Knicks on draft night and you're making the pick at 11, are you taking best player available or are you targeting a specific position? And if you are, what position are you targeting and why?
Shout out Ian Bagley of SNY, one of the goats of the Knicks beat.
I just want to say, I've never told the story. I'll say this very quick because I know you have a lot of respect for Ian as well. I mean, it has to be 6-7 years ago. I had a friend of a friend who knew Ian, and like I had never published anything. And I reached out to this person. I'm like, can you reach out to your friend and ask if Ian would like read this bullshit that I wrote? I don't even know what the fuck it was. And God bless him, he read the thing, and we were like texted about it. I think he even got on the phone with me. I was nothing. I had never done anything. And he did that. One nicest human being alive.
Stand up guy, man, and he's looking like Ian from Rockland County. His alter ego video here, but stand up guy. And when you talk about guys that embrace us on the independent side, I don't think no one does it any bigger than Ian. So no question, man. Shout out to Ian Begley.
That said, Ian, ask a better question. Come on, best player available. Come on, right? Where the Knicks are not in a position. I don't think I'm curious what you're going to think, CP. I don't think they're in a position to quibble about where they go with this thing. The one exception to that, and maybe this is what Ian was kind of angling with, is the center position.
Yes.
So if you have Jalen Duren, who Jalen Duren was the number 1 prospect in this class like a year ago or less than a year ago, whatever it was, going into this college season, he could be there for you at 11, and then how does that then influence the Mitch discussion? And like, in terms of what you're going to pay him, what can you get for him on the sign and trade, whatever it is. That part of it gets a little tricky, but in a vacuum, I'll say best player available. I was so flabbergasted to see Ian Bagley. What was the second part of his question? What
position?
What position? Yeah.
If you go need, what position are you prioritizing?
I mean, Dyson Daniels sure seems like he fits a need to me.
Yeah. I'm going best player available, not a center.
Okay.
If they pick a center, I'll be pissed. I'm telling you right now, man.
John mentioned Dyson Daniels. I don't know how much drafts, deep dives you've done yet, CP. Is there a player that has stood out to you yet?
At 11, I'm ranking them Dyson Daniels, Benedict Mathurin, and it's my guy from Wisconsin.
Johnny Davis.
I'm going there. Again, I'm looking for versatility. I like the prospect of a Dyson Daniels. You just saw the success that Giddey had coming out of Australia. Daniels, although not necessarily the playmaker of Giddey, has that kind of versatility, that positional versatility. Can guard 1 through 4s, can play a little bit of point. You see his defense out there. He's able to see over the top of opposing defenses. He has that size that Tibbs likes. Like the fact that he can get to the basket, he can finish with both hands. He's an impressive player. Mathurin, I think, is a textbook of a dog. I mean, we've seen him in the NCAA tournament, 30-point game against TCU. He's a two-way player, nice shot creator as well, puts in the work. Canadian, he's one of RJ's fellow countrymen. And I like Mathurin, man. I think he'd be a great player here. And then again, Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis, nice mid-range scorer, can play defense as well. I'm leaning towards the wing. I know you say best player available, and I agree with you guys. Whoever's the top talent should be there, but I'm hoping it's a wing. And if they like what they see there, one of those 3 guys would be a nice piece.
That works.
If I had to give you guys, because we know Brock Aller sees the draft order or where you're slated more as a suggestion than an actual, like, that's where you're supposed to pick. So if I gave you guys 11.5 as like the over under for where the Knicks are selecting, do you take the over or under in this year's draft? 11.5. So basically 11 or trade up or 12 and trade down.
Over is
over means they're
11,
playing. Right? Over is no. So the under. So they pick. So 1 to 11 would be the under.
I'll go under because I think there's a possibility they trade up. Also.
Yeah. I'm going under because I don't think they would take on additional draft picks, especially in this draft. They already have a ton of young players on the roster with limited roster spots. I think they'd look to consolidate and try to trade up as well.
Consolidate. Okay. I will say under with the caveat that if this Donovan Mitchell smoke is real, then adding as many pieces to the treasure chest that they need to might actually come in handy.
I think that if you're of the 3 options, trade up, stay put, trade down. I think trade down might be the most likely option, but I think when you combine the first 2 options, it's a higher probability than trading down, which is why I gave that answer. That said, you could absolutely see a scenario where it's like trade down to whatever and pick up a, top 5 protected 2026 first from team, X that maybe is not one of the best teams in the league. That would not shock me.
Okay. Last question of the night. I had to, given who our guest was today, John, and look, as someone who admires our work, we had to go with the legend. I know this. We had to go with the legend for our last question. Last up.
Yo, what's up? Knicks Film School, CP the Fanchise, Chuck D right here. I was actually getting my feet done. The most important thing, especially males, man, especially if you running and jumping, playing ball, get your feet done, get that circulation right. And I jumped on 10,000 stages, and trust me, it felt like I went and got new pair of feet, man. Been the first time since really October. Far too long, but no testimonials. Anyway, the deal is, the question I like to ask is like, goes to CP, also Knicks Film School, Andrew, when is that, what's the proper way that the organization as the New York Knicks are supposed to approach the media and the fan base, especially in the summer and going into next season? Because the mystery, we got our certain methods, our secrets, that doesn't end up well in New York at all for any sports team ever. It might work somewhere like Phoenix or somewhere like, Albuquerque, Fort Wayne, but doesn't work in New York City. What do you propose the way you would like to see how they handle it? Chuck D, question, out.
The OG, man. Shout out to Chuck, man. I knew that's who it was, man. That was a great job, Edge.
The legend. Chuck D.
Legend doesn't even begin to cover it. CP, you want to take this first?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of frustration with the way the exit interview, I guess, or the State of the Knicks interview was conducted between Leon Rose and Mike Bree, and a lot of people thought, it was a cookie cutter situation. He wasn't, the Knicks beat was not given access to him to ask their questions. I think I don't expect the president of the team to just come out and say, okay, they're not going to tell you this is who we want to trade, or, we were disappointed that this didn't come through. There's very little that you're going to get from these type of exit interviews. Sam Presti went out the other day, went on for what, 2 hours?
Yeah. So the last question.
Well, what did you really get? Okay. Well, yeah, we're going to continue to tank. And if we don't get what we want, we're going to tank some more. Okay. Well, we got that. Maybe if Leon held court with the beat and still gave his, canned cookie cutter answers, maybe that would satisfy the fans a little bit more. But, I think that would be it. I think the Breen thing kind of rubbed the fans the wrong way. They kind of felt like it was kind of staged, if you will.
Yeah.
So, have him be more presentable, more accountable to the fan base, to the organization, and situate it that way. Let the beat have their access, and, let Berman ask all his annoying questions.
Dude, shout out to Chuck D, by the way. I mean, just awesome that he would take the time to do this. It's a great question, because I think I'm like a lot of fans, or at least a goodly amount of fans, and that I don't care what Leon Rose has to say about his plans, about yeah, I mean, is there a part of me that is just like curious what he would say if he was at? Yeah, I'm curious, but is it going to make a difference to me personally? Am I going to feel like, ooh, I know more about the direction of my team? I feel safe and secure. No, I'll feel good about my team when my team's good and when they have a star and all that stuff. That said, Leon Rose's job, and it's not Leon Rose, it's James Dolan. James Dolan's job as the owner of because this all comes from Dolan. His job as an owner of basketball teams is to win basketball games. And the way they approach the media is a distraction, because when you have, and again, I'm not necessarily criticizing Mark Stein, but I'm just pointing it out. When you have someone like Mark Stein, who has a widely read NBA newsletter, and he dedicates an entire newsletter to the fact that the Knicks are the only team essentially who did not come out and have a traditional press conference after the season. And you have the beat reporters, tweeting about it and this and that. It is a distraction.
Yeah, they do it to themselves.
Yeah. And you've been shitty for 20 years. You don't need an additional distraction. Just do yourself a favor, weed out all of the distractions as much as possible. If you can, if it's in your power. It's not in your power to go out and trade for Donovan Mitchell and Zion Williamson. It is in your power to hold a press conference. And I'm not saying that'll make the team better or will make anybody's lives easier. And is it possible somebody puts their foot in their mouth and you have to deal with the situation because the beat is hard on New York, media person, or the beat is hard on New York, general managers or front office people? Yeah, but it's part of your job. part of your job. I trust that Leon Rose would be able to do fine in front of a microphone. And the distraction annoys me. That's all it is. And like, I get everybody who's going to listen to this and be like, oh, why are you siding with like the Beat who just like wants their lives made easier for things to write about and this and that. It's not about that. It really isn't. It's just, it's a talking point and it's an annoying talking point. And I just wish it wasn't a talking point. That's all.
Good stuff. Interesting. The legend, Chuck D, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you to everybody, literally everybody who submitted these questions. I hold on. Oh, guys, my bad. We have one more question. I completely blanked on the number.
Seriously?
Yeah, we have one more question. That's bad job by me, the producer. Usually I don't miss these things. So, all right. Hope you guys are ready. Last one.
Hey, John. Hey, CP. Thank you so much for having me on again. I know I ruffled some feathers with my truth about Eli Manning the last time I was here, so I really thank you for not holding any grudges. I originally was going to go a different direction with my question. I was going to ask what you guys did with the commission checks that the Knicks sent you for all the defending and water carrying that you did for them this year. But I figured as good company men, there was no chance you were going to actually answer my question. So instead, I'll ask this. As you know, I'm getting married next year and I am putting my wedding party together. And I wanted to give you guys an exercise to tell us all about your favorite sports heroes. Doesn't even have to be Knicks. So if you're putting together a wedding party of a best man, 3 groomsmen, you can have an usher there. If you want Tibbs to do the ceremony, John, go right ahead. But a best man, 3 groomsmen, and an usher featuring your 5 favorite sports athletes that you've ever been a fan of all time. I'll hang up and listen.
Wow.
But he's adorable. Wow.
That was hilarious.
Thank you.
That was good.
Thank you, man.
Okay.
Man.
This is hard.
So of all the athletes you've ever been a fan of, who's your best man? Could be any sport, by the way. So John, you're not as much of a baseball fan as you used to be, and you're not. I know you're a Steeler fan, but you're not as much of a.
Well, no, but
obviously the Knicks are your bride, you know.
Yeah, but like this is tough because like I don't know actually how many of our listeners know this. Like my favorite athlete ever is Michael Jordan. You know,
talk about.
So is Michael Jordan your best man?
No, but that feels like I don't know. That's so impersonal.
But this is out of. I mean, yes, whose favorite athlete isn't Michael Jordan? But this is real though.
No, you know, my best man would be Jerome Bettis.
Bus, okay,
the Bus, because like the Bus was always like I always connected with him because I was a little fat kid, and you know, I saw him like running over people. I'm like, that's cool. That's really awesome. Yeah. I like, you know, he seems like a nice guy too. And
I'm right in assuming, by the way, your bride, if we want to use the analogy, the number one team that you would that would be your bride is the Knicks, right?
That goes without saying.
Obviously.
Who's your best man, CP?
I'm going Melo, man.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm going Melo. He was my favorite player from that Syracuse run throughout his whole career. Was elated when he became a Knick, despite having to let go of my guy Timothy Mozgov. Yeah, I'm going Melo because I think out of the rest of the groomsmen, and he's also got the most personality. You know what I'm saying? So I know, he's going to take care. He's going to hold you down. He did the whole banana boat thing. You know what I'm saying? Wine connoisseur, all of that. I think Melo's there. And then I got to round it out with Jeter.
Seems good.
Eli.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Eli, Andrew. Eli.
Listen, maybe for he could be the ring bearer, or the Giants defense could bring a ring up there for him. You know, sorry.
And I'll go Patrick Ewing.
Big fella.
There it is.
I will go for the 3 groomsmen. See, the groomsmen are with you on the bachelor party.
Yeah.
So J.R. Smith.
I knew it.
Come on down. You're the first contestant on Macker's divorce. In addition to him, Spreewell. I bet you Spreewell will be a good time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Spreewell will be a good time.
And Spreewell is like kind of my low key favorite Knick ever. And then I'm going 3 Knicks here. Last one, I need someone from the 90s. You went Ewing.
Yeah.
Gotta be Mace or Oakley.
I was about to say.
You need a bouncer. Yeah.
No, I gotta do it. Rest in peace. Anthony Mason. As the last one.
Good pick.
And then just so I don't so I don't get the hate mail. I don't hate RJ Barrett. RJ, you could be the usher.
Yeah, sure. There you go.
A way to close it. We started with RJ, close with RJ.
Close with RJ.
Perfect. Now that concludes our questions, guys.
There you go. Okay. And CP, you're a busy man. The fact that you made time, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. You guys, I mean, there are few, as Andrew could tell you, few people I admire, especially people who do things like we do here. You continue to absolutely kill it. And
appreciate it, man.
I'm excited to see where the years that come, bring you. But as long as you keep doing Knicks Fan TV, that's all I really care about.
Hey, no question, man. Like I said, I make time for you guys. I definitely appreciate all the collabs over the years, man. Fantastic voyage. We did a documentary and everything. Shout out to Chuck on that note. And so, yeah, man. And anytime. This was a great episode.
Fun times.